Ellis Tolbert from 4th and 16 Sports. Ellis, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Well, we're happy to have you as always, and thank you for joining us. Ellis, the big question that I have for you, and this is really not Clemson related, so I know everybody's going to be shocked about this, but the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because earlier on in the year, this was a big deal because Justin Fields had just transferred to Ohio State, and there was a gentleman there by Tate Martell who was already at Ohio State and decided to jump ship. Well, at first he came out on Twitter and said that make sure not to swing and miss twice, right? And so, but then a couple days later he went into transfer portal and ran away. He went to Miami, which is a lot of people think is going to be one of the contenders for the Coastal Division. And everybody thought that because he went 43-0 in high school and he was, this highly recruited player, that he was going to get the job. But come to find out on Monday, Manny Diaz comes out and says that he's not going to get the job, and one of their redshirt freshmen is going to get the job. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts on Tate Martell and that situation as a whole?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the problem with Tate Martell is that because of his high school career, a lot was made about his actual ability. He was, like we mentioned, he was 43-0, never lost a game, and by all means a great quarterback in high school. I think a lot of people thought that was going to translate over to the college game, and he's always been kind of shifty anyway when it comes to teams. He committed to Washington in 2012, then decommitted, committed to Texas A&M, had a little spat with the guy named Nick Starkel over there, decided to decommit from there. A lot of that had to do with Kevin Sumlin, though. Once that ends up happening, he commits over to Ohio State, redshirts his freshman year. I think no one thought that he was going to beat out J.T. Barrett over at Ohio State. Then the next year, he had the unfortunate situation of being behind a guy who ended up being a first-round talent in the NFL. The problem with Tate Martell is that, again, not only did people think he was better than he is, I think he thought he was better than what he is. Again, he's a short quarterback. He's only about 5'10", goes about 210, 215. Looks more like a running back. And by all means, he's actually used a lot like a running back. Over at Ohio State, they ran him more in special packages to, get him some touchdowns at goal line situations, things like that. Here's the deal with Miami. Jared Williams is a redshirt freshman, but this guy has all the tools to fit the Dan Enos offense. He looks sort of like Tua running that offense. Of course, I'm not saying he is Tua. Don't get me wrong about that. But I am saying that he has the best arm of the three guys. He's not as athletic as he or Nkosi, but he just fit that offense better, especially from a passing game. And Tate Martell is just not very good in the passing game. So, unfortunately for him, he just found himself in a situation where, he's just here's the thing that got people on edge, though. He didn't show up after the news of not being the starting quarterback. And a lot of people were speculating, he's going to transfer again. Now, what I'm seeing is that he actually addressed the team the next day, and he's looking to stay. He wants to prove people wrong because of the narrative of him being a fleet-footed fox, if you'd like to say. But to me, I don't trust that he'll stay for the entire season. I can see him transferring again as well.
Wow. So I know that on Monday he said there was actually a picture from a long snapper that showed his locker room, or his locker, just destroyed with his nameplate on the floor. And a lot of people were like, is this real or not? Well, apparently it was real. He didn't show up to practice that day, but then he showed up and talked to the team that night. So you're leaning more towards him again, transferring again before this season starts, or you're leaning more towards him staying through this season?
Well, I think it's a little complicated. Honestly, this mirrors a little bit kind of like Kelly Bryant. Kelly Bryant didn't show up for the practice after being told that Trevor Lawrence was going to be the starter. That was a little bit more calculated. Dabo actually gave him the day off. The difference is that Kelly Bryant was done after that. He did not come back. He didn't even show up in the practice after that or in any of the meetings. But here's the deal with Tate Martell. I think Manny Diaz has already talked about, they don't really know who the backup is right now. It's either going to be Nicosi or Tate. So it's up in the air. And to me, that's like a double shot. You're looking at being told you're not going to be the starter, and then you're looking at being told that you're not even the backup. You're not, penciled in to be the backup. So it's kind of difficult for him. I see him doing the whole 4-game thing and putting his name in the transfer portal and going again. He's a graduate, so he can leave as he chooses. To me, I don't see him staying all 4 games unless something happens injury-wise to either Jaron or Tate or Nicosi. Excuse me.
Yeah, this is another one of those situations that a lot of people don't like to talk about, where it doesn't really end up the way that you plan. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. I'm not saying that he would have won out the Ohio State job, but I don't think anybody expected him to go in and then lose this job as well, especially after transferring and getting a waiver to transfer and play immediately. I was expecting him to play immediately. Just from what I knew about him, I thought he was going to win that job. But the more I'm reading into it, Enos really likes Williams better, and it fits his offense better, like you were saying. A lot of people on YouTube saying that transfer portal's turning into the free agency, and that they knew that he felt he was very cocky. I even said it a couple of months ago that he seemed like a guy that was kind of a Johnny Manziel type, wouldn't say Baker Mayfield, because Baker Mayfield was he knew when to do it and when not to do it, but Johnny Manziel didn't. And I feel like Tate Martell is a little bit on that, Johnny Manziel cocky side, and it might be getting to him. When you're a quarterback, you have to lead the entire team, and so you need someone who can handle different kinds of situations, and especially handle adversity. And going in and beating up your locker and throwing everything is not a good sign starting out. But Ellis, thank you for joining us, and thank you for talking about Tate Martell. I know it's not Clemson, and I hate that I did that to you, but I saw you on Twitter, and I knew you were talking about it, so I wanted to bring you on and get your thoughts. Hey, there's some exciting news that you just posted recently. Some of our viewers might not know about it. Can you tell us about what's going on this week or next week, and how to find, and our viewers that don't know you, how they can find you?
Right on, yeah. So first of all, I want to thank you guys for having me on here. I'm a big fan of the Morgan Thomas show. I think Big Al's awesome too. You guys do a great job. And again, anytime you need me, I'm here. So 4th and 16 is a podcast about Clemson sports. I've been focusing on football. And I have now partnered with the great people over at The Roar. That's WCCP. Radio station down in Clemson. They are expanding their coverage, so they're doing some things in Spartanburg as well, so they're going to have more coverage around the state. I'm going to have a radio show. I'm just basically going to be taking the 4th and 16 over to that. It's going to come out every Thursday night at 7 p.m. till 8. That's going to last throughout the football season. So the first episode is going to be on August 22nd. If you are not in South Carolina and you can't get 105.5 on the radio, you can look it up at WCCPFM.com. Just come there. I'm going to be doing the game plan for the week. We'll be discussing the offense, the defense, special teams, and some predictions. So, hopefully you guys will listen to that and be pumped up for it. And, yeah, that's what it'll find me from now.
All right, Ellis. Well, we appreciate you joining. I hope you have a good rest of the week, and thanks again.